Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from Group 5 that consists of Nanda Erlina, Nikma Nurin Namirah, and Minura Arifatul Jannah will deliver the material about turn taking. There are 3 materials that we will deliver. Those are the first one, definition, and also the basic rules of transition speech will be delivered by Nikma, and second one is the example and explanation will deliver by Nanda, and then the last one is 7 turn taking strategies will deliver by me. So let's check this out.
Okay, bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Here I will explain about turn taking. In conversation analysis, turn taking is a term for the manner in which orderly conversation normally takes place. Turn taking is a type of organization in conversation and discourse where participants speak one at a time in alternating turns. In practice, it involves process for constructing contribution, responding to previous comments, and transitioning to different speakers using a variety of linguistic and non-linguistic cues. In any piece of natural English discourse, turn will occur smoothly with only little overlap and interruption, and only very brief silence between turns, on average less than a second. People take turns when they are selected or nominated by the current speaker, or if no one is selected, they may speak of their own accord or self-selection. So the next is basic rule. Basic rule of transition speech. The first is, if the turn of speech that has been determined by designating the next speaker, participant designated that the right to speak on the next turn. Second, if the change of speech is not predetermined, the participant of the conversation that will decide who should speak on the next turn after the previous speaker provides an opportunity for the participants. The third, if the change of speech is not predetermined and the other participants do not take the initiative to become speaker formal.
A point in a conversation where a change of turn is possible is called a transition relevance place, or TRP. Next speakers cannot be sure that the current speaker is complete, but they will usually take the end of a sentence to indicate that the turn is possibly complete. When speakers don't want to wait until the TRP, it is called an interruption. In the following example, we can see the moment of interruption. The moment when the interruption begins is indicated with a double slice. From this example, we can see that the speaker A don't want to wait until the speaker B complete her or his speaking. When hearers predict that the turn is about to be completed and they come in before it is, this is an overlap. In the following example, we can see the moment of overlap. The overlap is indicated with a equal sign. Each culture seems to have an unwritten agreement about the acceptable length of a pause between two turns. In any culture, if the pause is intended to carry meaning, analysts call it an attributable silence. For example, did you have a good time last night? Yeah. So he asked you out then? He did. Speaker B paused for 3 seconds before her yeah, and Speaker A attributes to this silence an affirmative answer and very positive sentiments. In the cultures, in which there is a low level of tolerance of silence between turns. If there is a lull between conversation extending past about 10 seconds, speakers tend to utter something like or so there you go, in order to break the silence. For those who don't know each other well, a long non-attributable silence can feel awkward.
I will continue about 7 turn-taking strategies. The first one is speak, then ask. When you ask someone a direct question, you are forcing them to take their turn. It means that after you have finished your speaking, maybe in a discussion, and then you want to ask about opinion or maybe the question that they have from what you said, you can ask to them about it. The second is use conjunction. Write down a list of conjunctions and then add more information by using a conjunction. You can start to write with some conjunction like and, or, but, therefore, and after this you can ask them to mention the other conjunction. The third is phrases for agreeing or disagreeing. Another great way to keep the conversation going is by agreeing or disagreeing with what another has said. You can give your opinion whether you agree or disagree. So you can start your turn by clarifying do you agree or not with the point that have discussed with the phrases of agreement, such as I agree with you, blah 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 blah. I disagree with you, blah 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 blah. I'm afraid I can't agree, blah 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 blah. I couldn't agree anymore, blah 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 blah, and etc. The fourth is asking for and giving opinion. This point is a continuation of the above point. After you give expression about agreement, you can continue it by the reason why you agree or not. You can explain it, and then after you have finished your statement, you can ask about others' opinion. Fifth is filler for pauses. Long silences are awkward, so teach them useful phrases that act as fillers. Thinking words they can turn to when they need time to come up with an appropriate response. On the other hand, the pause for filler is useful. It means that you are trying to let others absorb what you have just said. You can try to think of an example, or maybe you can connect it with somebody else have said. 6 is avoid interruptions. Another important skill is being able to avoid being interrupted. When you are talking and then someone wants to interrupt it with their opinion, you have to know how to avoid the interruption well. If the interruption is in the middle of the speaking, you can pause while speaking and then apologize. And also continuing about what you need to talk about because it is not finished. The last is fluency over accuracy. Consider simply letting them speak and giving them feedback at the end. Even if you didn't understand what they are talking about, you have to wait the speaking until finished and ask what they are talking with what you understand about with your point of view. And don't forget to give the feedback. That's all about the turn-taking strategies that you may be able to implement while discussing or having a conversation. And also, it is the last material from Group 5. And hopefully you all can understand the presentation and enjoy with it. We are apologize if we have mistake in delivering this material, and thank you guys so much for your attention. And the last we say Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.